Have you ever heard the phrase, behind every great man, there's a great woman? Well, when it comes to Viking history, the saying doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. You see, Viking women weren't just bystanders in the shadows of their legendary men. Some were warriors, queens, and even witches with incredible powers that many history books have overlooked. But what if I told you there were dark secrets about Viking women that many people still don't know? Secrets about their strength, their roles, and their influence that have been hidden for centuries. In this video, we'll be unveiling these secrets, diving deep into the lives of Viking women who weren't just waiting for their husbands to return from battle. They were often leading the charge themselves. Stick with me till the end, and you'll discover the truth about these fierce, extraordinary women who shaped Viking history in ways you never imagined. Let's face it, when most of us think about the Vikings, we imagine the longboats, the raids, and the men with wild beards. The stories of Viking warriors are legendary, right? But what about the women? Were they just sitting at home weaving clothes and raising children? Far from it. Viking women played a much larger role in society than many of us realize. Some were powerful queens, others fierce warriors, and some were even believed to have supernatural powers. Today, we're going to uncover the dark secrets of Viking women. The warriors, the queens, and the witches who changed the course of Viking history. To understand the dark secrets of Viking women, we first need to know what their everyday life looked like. While the Viking men were off raiding, their women weren't just twiddling their thumbs. Viking women were the backbone of their society. They were in charge of running the household, taking care of the crops, and raising children. But their roles went far beyond that. Women in Viking society were highly respected and had more rights than women in many other cultures at the time. They could own land, inherit property, and even divorce their husbands. In fact, if a Viking woman wanted a divorce, she could simply announce it in front of a witness and walk away. Imagine having that much power. But Viking women didn't just manage the domestic side of things. They were also deeply involved in the spiritual and social life of their communities. Some were known to be skilled seers, capable of looking into the future. Others held roles as shield maidens and warriors, fighting right alongside the men in battle. The idea of Viking women as warriors might sound like a myth, but the truth is, there were actually women who fought in battles. These women were known as shield maidens, and they were just as fierce and deadly as their male counterparts. Shield maidens were trained in combat from a young age. They wielded swords and axes and fought in the same bloody battles as the men. Some of them even led raids, commanding armies and striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. One of the most famous shield maidens was Lagertha, a warrior who fought alongside the legendary Viking king, Ragnar Lothbrok. According to the sagas, Lagertha was so skilled in combat that Ragnar himself was amazed by her bravery. She is often portrayed as a fierce, unstoppable warrior, ready to take on any challenge. And Lagertha isn't the only one. There are numerous historical records and sagas that mention women fighting in battles, wielding weapons, and earning their place in the Viking warrior tradition. These shield maidens were not some fictional creation. They were real, powerful women who proved that Vikings weren't just a male-dominated society. If you thought Viking women were just warriors, think again. Viking women also held positions of incredible power as queens, rulers, and leaders. Some Viking queens were even more influential than their husbands, controlling vast lands and armies. Take, for example, the legendary Queen Lagertha again. But this time, let's focus on her role as a queen, not just a warrior. She was known to have led her own people and commanded respect, both on the battlefield and in the halls of power. Her strength and wisdom made her a force to be reckoned with. Then there's the story of Freydis Eriksdottir, the daughter of Eric the Red. Freydis is known for her incredible bravery during the Viking exploration of North America. She led an expedition to Vinland, modern-day Canada, and when faced with an attack from indigenous peoples, she fought back fiercely, even killing several attackers to protect her crew. Freydis was a queen in her own right, a woman who was fearless in the face of danger and willing to risk everything for the success of her people. Viking queens were not just figureheads. They ruled with authority, making crucial decisions that could shape the fate of entire kingdoms. Some of them even took over as regents when their husbands went off to war or died. These women were the true power behind the Viking throne. Now, let's dive into a darker aspect of Viking women: their involvement in magic, witchcraft, and the supernatural. In Viking society, women were believed to have a special connection to the spiritual world. Some were seers who could predict the future, while others practiced magic and sorcery. The practice of seed, a form of Norse magic, was often associated with women. Seer was a mystical form of magic that allowed the practitioner to enter a trance and manipulate the world around them, including influencing the fate of others. The most famous figure connected to Seed is the goddess Freya, who was said to be a master of this art. Women who practiced Seed were called Volvas. These women were highly respected but also feared. Their powers were seen as both a blessing and a curse. They could heal the sick, predict the future, and even curse their enemies. But their magical abilities also made them vulnerable to accusations of witchcraft, especially when things went wrong in the community. One famous historical account is of a woman named Eowydakutesfarar, who is said to have been a powerful Volva. She was so skilled in magic that she could even predict the outcome of battles and influence the fate of kings. However, as with many other women who practiced magic, Eowydakutesfarar faced persecution. In the Viking Age, the line between healer and witch was thin, and women who had magical powers were often ostracized or even executed if their magic was deemed dangerous. The dark secrets of Viking women go beyond their roles as warriors, queens, and witches. These women left a legacy that shaped Viking society in profound ways. They weren't just participants in Viking life. They were key players who influenced the course of history. Without Viking women, the world as we know it today might have been very different. They challenged the traditional roles of women and fought for a place in a world that often saw them as second-class citizens. These women proved that strength, power, and wisdom are not defined by gender. While much of Viking history has been written by men, the stories of these incredible women are finally being told. Their contributions to Viking culture and history are being recognized, and the dark secrets of their lives are coming to light. So, there you have it, the dark secrets of Viking women, warriors, queens, and witches who fought, ruled, and influenced Viking history in ways that most people never knew. These women weren't just behind the scenes. They were right there, leading the charge,